Here is a question. Can evil be stopped? Why hasn't God done anything about evil? If he could, would he do something about it? Why is there still evil? Why can't it be stopped? And what is the purpose of evil anyway? Well, today's recording is to answer these two questions. Can evil be stopped? And what is the purpose of it anyway? Well, let's tackle the first question. Can evil be stopped? Well, in a sense, evil cannot be completely destroyed without destroying our freedom. Let me explain what it means. In our previous audio recording, we looked at where evil came from, and we said that free beings are the cause of evil, or free will or choice is the cause of evil. You can also use another word instead of choice, and that would be freedom. But you see, freedom was also given to us so that we could love. And in Matthew chapter 22, verse 36 to 37, it says, "Love is the greatest good for all free creatures." And love can only happen if there is a choice. It can only happen if there is freedom. So given this, can you see the conundrum here? If we were to destroy evil, we would also have to destroy choice. And if we destroy choice, we also have to get rid of love, or the ability to love. And not being able to love would deprive great human beings of the greatest good. So we have a conundrum here, meaning we cannot completely destroy evil without destroying all the good that comes with it, all the good that comes with free will. So what is the solution? Well, God's plan is simply this, that evil can be defeated without destroying free will. And God has a complete plan to defeat evil without destroying free will. The plan is embedded in what Jesus did 2,000 years ago, and the plan is embedded in Jesus' second coming soon. When Jesus finally comes, the penalty and the power and the presence of sin will be fully defeated. So to answer the first question, why can't evil be stopped? Yes, evil can be stopped by defeating it. So what it means is, even though evil is still persistent, it does not mean that it will not be defeated. Think about this in this logic. If God is all good, he would defeat evil. If God is all powerful, he could defeat evil. Now, evil is not yet defeated, but one day, evil will be defeated. Because God's plan is still in process, it's not finished yet. Now, let's turn to the next question, is the purpose of evil. When we answer a question like this, we ought to be mindful that at an individual level, at the level where a mum has lost a baby, at a level when a person has lost a loved one, at a level where a leg is broken, a family has lost its income, at that very painful and personal level, we, without knowing the individual, the answers that we give will not satisfy at that level for those who are hurting at a very personal level. But we can answer this question, the purpose of evil, to those who use this as a reason to deny God's existence or deny any goodness. To that, we can give this answer. To start with, we need to first make a distinction between knowing the purpose of evil at a human level and God having a purpose for evil. You see, many at the human level assume that if they can't find a purpose for evil existing, then there is no good reason for evil existing. That is a false assumption. You see, even if we don't know God's purpose, God may still have a good reason for allowing evil in our lives. In Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29, it says, "The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever." Unquote. See, we ought to think that sometimes some evil helps us to bring about greater good. In the example of Joseph in the Bible, if he had not been sold into slavery by his brothers and imprisoned unjustly, would the nation of Israel have survived the famine, and would they had a refuge in which to grow? Or, for instance, what kind of leader would the Apostle Paul have been if he had not humbled after his exalted revelations with God? So some evil helps to bring about greater good. Let's quote an even more practical example. When we bring up a child, a little babe, a little infant, let's put it that way, how do we teach him or her what hot is? Because it's very dangerous for the baby or the infant to perhaps put his finger into a boiling water or into a cup of hot tea or a hot coffee. What we do sometimes is to tell the infant hot, and perhaps let him touch warm water that doesn't hurt him terribly but gives him a sensation of being hot, and tell him that it is hot, do not touch. In this instance, this little form of evil, letting an infant experience warm or some form of hot, so that a greater good could come from this experience, so that he will never ever touch something that is truly, truly hot and that would burn him. So in that instance, there is a purpose for that form of controlled pain. Or I'll quote another example. Do you know why lepers lose their fingers or their toes and their noses? Usually it has nothing directly to do with the leprosy at all. Rather, the disease caused them to lose their feelings in their extremities, and they literally destroy themselves because they can't feel pain when they touch a hot plate, for instance. So they hang on to it until it burns their hand. Without feeling things that they were about to bump into, they hit them full force without slowing down. And in this instance, without the sensation of pain, they do tremendous damage to themselves, and they don't even realize it. And now let's finish with one of these questions. Why would God then allow his own son to suffer and die such a cruel and violent death as a criminal when he had done nothing wrong, and by nature had no need to die? This form of injustice is very hard to understand, and it's hard to explain, unless, of course, that there is some greater good accomplished by Christ's death. And this greater good gives purpose or supersedes and overshadows the evil of it all. This greater good was written clearly in Mark chapter 10:45. And I quote, "To give his life as a ransom for many," unquote. So Jesus came to give his life so that he could save all of us. God allowed that so that greater good can come from this pain and suffering that Jesus Christ went through. So in the end, God's purpose, sometimes it may not be clear to us why he allows certain things to happen, but we as trusting and we in faith understands and trust that God meant good for all of us, even though at that moment in time we cannot see it And even though at that moment in time we see evil happening to people, we need to trust that everything is under the control of God, and God has a very good purpose for it. Given all this, I pray that you can see why evil cannot be completely destroyed, but it can be defeated, and it will be defeated. And I pray that you can see the purpose of evil. And even if you can't, we now know that we can rely on our Almighty God, that there is a good purpose for allowing evil to happen.